MSW Media. Thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring our show. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting cleanup to 64,000.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 223 of Clean Up on Aisle 45. 223. And we're still cleaning up from the first Trump regime. It's Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. I'm Allison Gill.
I think that cleanup's going to just continue forever and ever.
Yeah.
Generations from now, we're going to be cleaning up.
They'll have to freeze my head and unfreeze it, and we'll still be cleaning up.
Well, AG, great to be with you, y'all. I'm Harry Dunn. But today, E. Jean Carroll's lawyer argues that Trump's bid to have the DOJ step in on his behalf is about 2 years too late. And congratulations to our friend, George Santos. He has been sentenced to 87 months in prison.
Excellent. Excellent. Also, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, the guy who there's video of like dancing in his underwear in a hotel room window, he has threatened to pull federal funding from states that engage in diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker held a 12-hour sit-in on the Capitol steps.
Yeah.
Plus, for your Schadenfreude pleasure, we do have a little update on Mike Lindell. We can't leave him out of the mix ever. But first up, Harry, we have some new patrons to thank.
Woohoo!
They have joined the party, so they'll be invited to our next Zoom happy hour call.
You guys have no idea what you're in store for. Welcome.
So thanks to Erica Siskind or Siskind. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Terry M., Sherry C., Road Cone, love it. It reminds me of that old police video with the drunk driver guy with the cone on his head.
I know exactly what you're talking about. They showed it to us. They show us that at the police academy.
No shit, they do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they try to keep it lighthearted too a little bit. So we see a lot of crazy videos, serious videos, and funny ones. So
and then he takes it off and he holds it like a megaphone. He's like, "Hello."
Great
Heather,
video.
Yeah, Road Cone. Heather B. and Amanda from the bright red rural Virginia ACK.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone to the party. Welcome to the party. You are the best. If you want to become a patron, it's super easy. Just go to patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD. Harry Dunn, Mr. Harold. Is your real name Harold?
No, it's not. Actually, it's so funny because a lot of people, well, not a lot, like there are a few people that say Harold, and they think they're actually calling me there. It's not. My father's name is Harry. I'm not a junior. We have different middle names. But it's just Harry. So,
all right. Well, Harry, tell us about your travels. You just got back into town, yeah?
Yeah, just got back from Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's so funny, Amanda from bright red rural Virginia. Well, Oklahoma is red as they come. Yeah. But I was out there with a bunch of Democrats and a bunch of people. Maybe it was some people that wouldn't identify as Democrats, but they hate what's going on right now. And it seems like only Democrats are trying to stop what's going on right now. So I had the opportunity to speak at a gala out there for the Tulsa County Dems, to let them know, hey, we see you out here in this part of the world. We're always going to keep fighting. And that's what it's all about. In fact, speaking of rural red again, later this week, I'll be headed to North Dakota and doing the same thing out there, speaking at a gala for the Dems out there. Let them know we're still fighting for them, give them a keynote, a little motivation out there. And also just announced I'll be going to Orlando, I think the second week of May. And I'm going to be doing, my first stop is on a Thursday. I'm going to be doing a town hall with former police chief and former United States Congresswoman Val Demings. So I am so excited to be out there doing our town hall in Orlando. There are details on the Mobilize websites about how to register and attend. And I'll be down there for that whole weekend doing a series of events down in Florida. So I'm going to ask for those prayers in advance because, Florida's crazy country down there.
Yeah, but you'll have Val Demings there to protect
exactly.
you.
So I'm asking for a hedge of protection around me now because Lord knows I am going down into the the devil's playground, I guess. So
yeah, the snake pit. So if you want to go to that, you can check out mobilize.us and search for that event. There's all sorts of great events on mobilize.us. And, if you're clean up and you want to go down and see Harry Dunn there in Orlando, I would highly recommend it. Again,
excited. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So thank you for doing something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And talking about doing something, Senator Cory Booker is doing something again. He's doing more things. We know he broke the Senate floor speech record, beating Strom Thurmond, who was arguing against the Civil Rights Act. That was a beautiful moment in American history.
Iconic.
We all got to watch. But this weekend, he and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, I'm so glad he's pulling up Hakeem Jeffries up off the sidelines here. They staged a sit-in on the Capitol steps. Your old stomping ground, my friend. This is from The Guardian. Billed as an urgent conversation with the American people, the live-streamed discussion between the House Minority Leader and the New Jersey senator came before Congress's return to session on Monday, where Democrats hope to stall Republicans' economic legislative agenda, specifically that big, giant budget reconciliation bill that's going to cut taxes for the ultra wealthy while also cutting all of the benefits and programs for us, the other 99% of us. Throughout the day, they were joined by other Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Raphael Warnock, who spoke as the sit-in passed the 10-hour mark.
It was really good watching that. That was really dope. And honestly, I was watching it and I wanted to go down there, but I could not shake this. I don't forget what it's called when you drink a little bit or maybe a lot bit and you wake up and your head's spinning. I forgot what it's called, but I was suffering from one of those thingies, But it was a great moment to see. It was a lot of great people that I recognized. A lot of great Congress people stopped by, showed up. But about that, the proposed budget for the 2026 fiscal year includes cuts to programs that support childcare, health research, education, housing assistance, community development, and the elderly, which, the MAGA folks claim to support and love, but their actions obviously so different. Booker and Jeffries said in a statement, Republican leaders have made clear their intention to use the coming weeks to advance a reckless budget scheme to President Trump's desk that seems to gut Medicaid, food assistance, and basic needs programs that help provide and give tax breaks to billionaires. Of course, that's their call.
That's their main goal, right?
That's their thing. They went on to say, given what's at stake, these could be some of the most consequential weeks for seniors, kids, and families in generations.
Yeah, agreed. Now, Booker wrote separately on Twitter. He said, this is a moral moment in America. Sitting on the Capitol steps with leader Hakeem Jeffries this morning to discuss what's at stake with Trump's budget and affirm the need for action to protect Medicaid, food assistance, and other safety net programs. Booker and Jeffries started their sit-in about 6 a.m. and ended it after 6 p.m. And throughout the day, they were joined, like I said, by lawmakers, including Democratic Senators Chris Coons and Angela Brooks, who I also love, and Representative Sarah McBride, who's incredible, Maxwell Frost, another brilliant man, Gil Cisneros, Gabe Amo, among others. There were many people who stopped by. Labor leaders like Randy Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers, also took part in the event. So it was just, a little star-studded sit-in. And I think it was great. Cory Booker's like, I'm going to sit down this time.
That was a good moment. It was good to just see a lot of people out there, several representatives that obviously we didn't name, maybe we'd be counting all day. Also, the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II and the National Education Association president, Becky Pringle, also joined. Pringle said the Trump administration was perpetrating the greatest assault on public education that we've ever seen in this country.
True.
That's scary. It's scary. And it's an assault from within, which makes it even more scary. Yeah. Democrats and independents have added a new degree of physicality to their opposition to the Trump agenda. As you mentioned, earlier this month, Booker set a new record for the chamber's longest speech when he held the floor without a bathroom break for more than 25 hours.
Yeah. And turns out he just didn't drink water for 24 hours before, didn't eat for 3 days
prepared.
Before. He prepped. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, an independent, and New York Representative AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they've been on the Fighting Oligarchy tour nationwide. to protest against the oligarchs and corporate interests that have so much power and influence in this country. That's a quote. On Sunday, Sanders, who has accused Democrats of significantly ignoring working class priorities, said that the party does not have, quote, a vision for the future. You have Democrats appropriately, and I'm working with them, talking about Trump's movement toward authoritarianism, vigorously opposing so-called reconciliation bill to give over $1 trillion in tax breaks for the 1%, and massive cuts to Medicaid, nutrition, and housing, opposing what Musk is doing to dismember the Social Security Administration and the Veterans Administration. By the way, his appearance in that Senate hearing about Social Security, where he was talking to Trump's, like, somebody from the Social Security Administration, who's like, okay, so you say that, Senator Sanders is like, all right, you said there's less than 1% error rate in the Social Security payouts, but Donald Trump said millions and millions of dead people are getting Social Security. How do you square that? And he's like, well, you know, there are millions and millions of, and he's like, just shut up. Listen to me. It's just so fantastic. Totally.
You're doing a pretty good Bernie there too, which is pretty good, you know.
I have a special place in my heart for Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely.
But he went on to say this makes it hard for our veterans to get decent health care or benefits on time. And I concur with that. Senator Sanders is the reason that the VA is able to negotiate prescription drug prices. And so, you know, that was a bill he co-sponsored. And that's what he also told NBC's Meet the Press, right? That everything that DOJ is doing by cutting Social Security and the Veterans Administration, it makes it hard for all of us.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And you know, this is one of the issues that this is well, obviously, a lot of things that Democrats campaigned on are definitely heart and soul of the American people of this country. But this one is real. This one hits at the absolute heart of it because this affects so many people in that voting population, the middle Americans, the everyday Americans, healthcare. I mean, a lot of people like talk about Gen Zs and, you know, this new generation, but all of those, even if it affects our parents, if we're not affected now, it affects our parents. So these are seniors, are even the child care. Trump was out there talking about, you saw that he said he wants Americans to have babies and everything like that. They don't even provide adequate prenatal care for especially women of color, Black and brown women. The mortality rates, you know, they're forgive me, I'm blanking on the terms, but to put it in layman's terms, Black and brown women die a lot more in pregnancies than, you know, everybody else.
As their babies, same with their babies. So,
let's, you know, exactly, yes, same with their babies. So, you know, we have a lot more issues to address, and this is, like I said, hitting right at the heart of it. And I did see one thing. I saw it on Blue Sky. I don't know where the article came from, but Molly Jung Fast posted a screenshot of a town hall that a congressman in New York, Mike Lawler, had. Yeah. And one of the questions that it was asked, and this was highlighted, I don't even know what the answer was, but this was a fabulous question. I think that was why it was screenshotted. And it said, what have you done to earn the title of a moderate Republican? Like, what have you done that earned you? Did you see that? And I thought about that for a second. Like, who are any other moderates? You know, I'm using air quotes right now, moderates. And what are they doing to distinguish themselves from MAGA people? And I think the question was related around these talks about what the Republicans want to do with gutting Medicare and Medicaid and stuff like that. Dude,
at this point, Mitch McConnell's more moderate than Lawler.
I know. Like, what are they doing? Like, what does moderate get you? Is it? I mean, because everything you've done, you supported MAGA 100%, and MAGA is not moderate. So
yeah, I mean, moderate Republicans are still a mile away from centrist Democrats in the Overton spectrum. Yeah. But yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you. And first of all, I love these town halls. Right,
they're great.
Whether a Democrat shows up in place of a Republican who refuses to show up, or whether Republicans up there getting their ass handed to them, it really shows kind of it supports the polling that we're seeing right now, where he's in his 30s now, in the 30 percentiles for approval ratings across a whole host of different issues.
So. That's still too many.
It is.
But yeah, so, I mean, well, speaking of town halls, let's talk about other Dems that are doing something. Senator John Ossoff, what a great guy he is. He's fantastic, by the way.
I love him.
On Friday, he signaled support for impeaching Donald Trump, telling attendees at his town hall near Atlanta that the president's conduct has already exceeded any prior standard for impeachment.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw just 48 hours ago, this is Ossoff saying, I saw just 48 hours ago, he is granting audiences to people who buy his meme coin. When the sitting president of the United States is selling access for what are effectively payments directly to him, there is no question that rises to the level of an impeachable offense, high crimes and misdemeanors, right?
Yeah,
sounds like it.
There's dozens, right?
I'm about to say dozens. That's just one instance, right?
That is just one instance. All right, everybody, we've got some more stuff to get to. We're going to talk about our good friend George Santos, but we have to take a quick break, so stick around. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, it's AG. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. A few years ago, a close friend of mine went through a nightmare identity theft situation. Her private info, including her home address and phone number, had been pulled from public databases by data brokers. That experience opened my eyes to how easily our digital footprints can be exploited, even if we think we're being cautious. And that's why I started to use Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal information from hundreds of data broker websites. These sites collect, package, and sell data without your knowledge or consent, and the consequences can be very serious. Phishing scams, impersonation, harassment, online stalking. And once your data is out there, it spreads quickly and quietly, making it almost impossible to fully track or delete on your own. As someone with a public-facing career and an active online presence, I view my privacy very importantly, especially now more than ever. Thanks, Doge. I love that Delete Me provides reliable and consistent ways to protect myself. They personalize reports for me, and they show exactly what information they found, where it appeared, what was removed, and how many hours it saved me having to go get rid of it all myself. So I get a lot of peace of mind and a real sense of control over something that usually feels completely out of our hands. You don't have to be a celebrity or a public figure to care about your privacy either. If you've ever Googled yourself and found things you didn't expect, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your personal data should not be a threat to your safety or well-being. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting CLEANUP to 64,000. The only way to get 20% off is to text CLEANUP to 64,000. Again, that's CLEANUP, all one word, to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply.
All right, y'all, welcome back. Some good news. Yay for good news. Yeah, right. From the Times, George Santos, the former Republican congressman from New York, whose outlandish fabrications. I don't know. Can we elaborate outlandish a little more?
We can just say lies, New York Times.
I know, man. God, no, what a guy.
They go way out of their way not to say the word lies.
Lies, right? Whose outlandish fabrications and criminal schemes fueled an unforeseen rise and spectacular fall, was sentenced to more than 7 years in federal prison. I know, right? His 87-month sentence was a severe corrective to a turbulent period in which Mr. Santos was catapulted from anonymity to political and pop cultural infamy, a national spotlight that even when negative, he often relished more than rejected. That's really accurate. It is. Relished it, yeah.
Really accurate. Santos pled guilty last year to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. He acknowledged his involvement in a variety of other deceptions, including lying to Congress, fraudulently collecting unemployment benefits, bilking campaign donors out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and, clashing patterns with plaids. No, he didn't do that. Sitting before Judge Joanna Siebert in federal district court in Central Islip, New York. Islip? I've never been. I don't know how to pronounce that. Somebody let us know. A very teary-eyed Mr. Santos, who's 36, seemed far removed from the swaggering politician whose lies that he was a college volleyball star and a Wall Street financier with ties to the Holocaust and September 11th, to name a few, turned him into a national punchline and led to mocking impersonations on Saturday Night Live.
Let's not forget he was Jew-ish.
Oh, right. That's right. I'm Jew-ish.
His voice trembling, Mr. Santos told the judge that he had betrayed the confidence entrusted to me by the American people. I cannot rewrite the past, he said, but I can control the road ahead. He asked for a lenient sentence to have time to let me prove that I can still contribute positively to the community I wronged.
Fancy words. But citing Mr. Santos's history of lies, they said lies, and noting that he has not yet paid any court-ordered restitution to his victims, Judge Siebert cast doubt on Mr. Santos's contrition. Where's the remorse? She asked incredulously at one point. Where do I see it? She expressed some sympathy for Mr. Santos and hope for his future, even if, it was now derailed by a prison sentence. But she ultimately sided with federal prosecutors' recommendation that he receive 87 months in prison. That's what the DOJ recommended, and that's what he got. Quote, Mr. Santos, words have consequences, the judge told him. You got elected with your words, most of which were lies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Mr. Santos, who cried into his hands as the sentence was being read. I like this. They're painting a picture, teary-eyed, his voice is cracking, crying in his hands. He cried into his hands as the sentence was being read, was given until July 25th to surrender and begin serving his term. He was ordered to pay more than $370,000 in restitution to his victims and will have to give up to 10% of his income towards payments once he is released.
Oh, tithing.
Wow,
for criminals.
interesting. I would say, man, that's a lot of cameo appearances, right? After his sentencing, Mr. Santos straightened and pulled a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses out of his suit jacket. He strolled from the courthouse to an awaiting car without speaking to the press. And he did not respond to his subsequent request for comment.
Boy, that kind of shut him up, didn't it?
Because when has he ever turned down talking to the press?
Yeah, and the judge was right, too, on her kind of feeling that he was showing no remorse despite what he said. Because hours later, he called the judge's decision an over-the-top politically influenced sentence in a social media post and begged Trump to offer him a chance to prove I'm more than the mistakes I've made. Remember when you and I on the bonus episode were like, when's the letter for asking for a pardon?
It's coming. It's coming, right?
Yeah. And one of Mr. Santos's lawyer, Joseph Murray, said the legal team would seek a presidential pardon, something that Santos has ruled out just 2 days before his sentencing. So they are going to look for a presidential pardon.
If Mr. Santos's lies accounted for his infamous rise, his financial misdeeds are what triggered his downfall. Well before any resolution in his criminal case, his colleagues in the House made the unprecedented decision in December 2023 to expel him from Congress without a conviction. After an ethics investigation found Mr. Santos had spent campaign funds on Botox, that's just funny right there, designer fashions, cosmetics, and OnlyFans, more than 100 Republicans joined Democrats to push him out.
Interesting. So the big question now is, like we said, will Trump give him a pardon? The Times says that though Mr. Trump has made expansive use of his presidential pardon power, he's shown no indication he might pardon Santos, who has yet to receive the president's favor despite his strong adherence to Trump's policies. After losing his first bid for a House seat in 2020, Santos backed Trump's false claims of a stolen election and wrongly said that he, too, had been the victim of voter fraud. Just us two on the ballots. Every other ballot thing was right, but just us. Some of the lies Santos told include he claimed to be a descendant of a Holocaust refugee. His mother, he said, was in the World Trade Center during the September 11th attacks. He boasted of extensive experience at Wall Street firms that allowed him to report loaning his campaign hundreds of thousands of dollars. But his resume was false, and so was the loan. One of several schemes that federal prosecutors in the Eastern District of New York argued Santos had used to enrich both himself and his campaign. Because, see, when you get a certain amount donated to your campaign, that's when the national party money kicks in and the RNC starts backing you.
Yeah, sure. So, in an indictment in 2023, prosecutors said that Mr. Santos stole from donors, used his campaign account for personal purchases, inflated his fundraising numbers, lied about his wealth on congressional documents, and committed unemployment fraud. New York's Labor Commission Roberta Reardon, who oversees the state's unemployment insurance program, was the only person to read a victim statement. No witnesses spoke in support of Mr. Santos.
No witnesses spoke in support of Santos. So how'd the sentencing hearing go, right? Ryan Harris, the lead prosecutor, argued that Santos deserved a lengthy sentence, not only to reflect the seriousness of his crimes, but to deter him from future criminality. When confronted with his lies, Harris said Santos doubles down, piling lies and fraud onto lies and fraud. This is not the behavior of someone who is easily deterred. Prosecutors also criticized him for his pugnacious social media posts that suggested he had little remorse for his actions and for using his notoriety to build a brand off of his crimes, including by starting a podcast last year titled Pants on Fire, a winking allusion to his penchant for lying. And remember, he asked for like a delay in his sentencing till August. Give me a chance to make more money on my Pants on Fire podcast and my cameo appearances so I can pay my restitution, Your Honor.
That's so funny. That's why I said, he definitely had to raise more money on his cameo.
Yeah.
Mr. Santos' lawyers did little to defend him against the prosecution's attack, seemingly resting their hopes for a lighter sentence on an appeal for mercy. Everyone hates George Santos. Andrew Mancilla, one of Mr. Santos' lawyers, said.
His own lawyer
said everybody hates George Santos. I mean, he's kind of not wrong, man. He's been painted and ridiculed over the past years as an evildoer and a fraudster. How can I stand up here and say that is not true? Wow.
I know.
Well, is he trying to sabotage? Like, does George Santos have an appeal because his lawyer is owned? Like,
Ted Cruz is more popular than George Santos, I think. Santos's lawyers pushed for a sentence of 2 years, followed by probation, saying the congressman had acknowledged the gravity of his crimes and was committed to paying restitution. But all of his just cocky bull attitude on social media and his video appearances totally undermined all that. Prosecutors disclosed that Mr. Santos had not paid any restitution, despite earning $360,000 recording personalized videos on the app Cameo after he was expelled from Congress. He made $360,000.
That's crazy.
Recording messages on Cameo. And prosecutors, casting doubt on his intention to pay back his victims, said that over the last year, Santos had rented a second home in Pennsylvania. He's driving a Jaguar around, and he's wearing a Rolex watch. So this is one of those cases where just being an asshole will get you more time in prison, know, because remorse says it does a lot in a sentencing hearing. It really, really does. And when you're walking around with a Rolex and driving a Jaguar and flipping the double barrel middle fingers to the courts and judges and people and, asking for more time so you can have more podcasting time. The judge notes that kind of behavior. It goes against, any sort of relief on your big, long sentence or what the DOJ is recommending for your remorse. If you're not remorseful, and in fact, there was somebody, I believe in the New York case, said that Trump's lack of remorse was pathological.
Wow.
So it's that kind of, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what court cases, that's what sentences are for. They're supposed to serve as a deterrent to keep you from doing that stuff again.
Yeah. If you walk around like you're untouchable, it makes it look like you're not going to be deterred, right?
Yeah. So why would a judge do that? So.
Yeah, for reals. All right, everybody, we got more stuff to get to, including an update on the E. Jean Carroll case. That's in appeal right now, and there's some stuff going on there. But we have to take a quick break first. So everybody stick around. We'll be right back.
I've always wanted to get into better meal routine, but between work, traveling, and everything else, planning healthy meals that actually taste good felt overwhelming. That's when I found Marley Spoon, and it's genuinely changed how I cook at home. Marley Spoon makes it so easy to enjoy delicious home-cooked meals without the stress. With our code, CLEANUP, you can now get up to 26 free meals for those nights when time is tight. Their new 15-minute express recipes are a lifesaver. You'll find these on every weekly menu, and if you just got a few extra minutes, their 20-minute options are just as fantastic. My personal favorite hack? Their sheet pan dinners. Literally throw everything on one pan, pop it in the oven, and boom, dinner's done. Same thing with their tray bakes, which even include the tray. And for those days when I really don't feel like cooking, their ready-to-heat meals are a game changer. Marley Spoon has completely changed my mealtime routine. With over 100 recipes to choose from each week, I'm cooking more often, stressing less about meal planning, and enjoying a better variety of food. If you've been struggling to find a meal routine that works, give Marley Spoon a try. It's made cooking at home so much easier and tastier. This new year, fast track your way to eating well with Marley Spoon. Head to marleyspoon.com/offer/cleanup and use code cleanup for up to 26 free meals. That's right, up to 26 free meals with Marley Spoon. One last time, that's marleyspoon.com/offer/cleanup. Promo code cleanup, so they know I sent you.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. We have our Hall of Fame patrons to thank. These are folks who just give us so much, and we thank you so much for being so amazing. Chris McCullough, Mr. Stu Pedasso, a dinosaur in dental school. Edgar Allan Poe is buried at Baltimore, VA. Or Baltimore, Virginia.
Baltimore, VA.
Yeah. Baltimore, VA.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Meg, I was like, is that the VA? All right. Yeah. Meg Alexander, Greg Robin Smith, a.k.a. Benjamin Franklin Live, Mr. Half Speed, Christine Tackner, and Tiffany Trump was adopted, who's been with us for a very long time. Thank you to all of you for being Hall of Fame patrons. Harry, we have an update on the E. Jean Carroll case.
Tell me.
Yeah, that's in the appeal process, right? And this is from CBS. Lawyers for the writer E. Jean Carroll say the Department of Justice should not be allowed to stand in for President Trump in his appeal of a jury's decision to award her $83.3 million. This is the second time Mr. Trump has sought the Justice Department's protection in the case. But Carroll's attorneys said this is the 13th hour, and it's the 13th hour effort that comes nearly 2 years too late. Carroll is opposing an effort by DOJ, which is a taxpayer-funded agency, and Mr. Trump's personal attorneys to shield Mr. Trump from damages. The government and Mr. Trump say the Westfall Act, which protects federal workers from lawsuits related to conduct within the scope of their job, entitles him to absolute immunity from personal lawsuits.
Yeah, this is interesting. Well, not really interesting. It's just, it's bizarre.
He's been saying this the whole time.
Bizarre, yeah. A unanimous federal jury found in Carroll's favor in January 2024, concluding that Mr. Trump made defamatory statements when denying he sexually abused Carroll. The Justice Department had stepped in on Mr. Trump's behalf during Mr. Trump's first presidency and more than half of former President Joe Biden's term in the White House. But that protection was rescinded after another jury in 2023 found Mr. Trump liable for sexually abusing Carroll, as well as a separate defamation allegations. She was awarded $5 million by the jury in that case.
Yeah, and just a bit of a correction. That protection was not rescinded because there was a second trial. That protection was rescinded by Merrick Garland.
Gotcha.
I just kind of want to make that clear.
Gotcha.
Carroll's lawyers, led by Roberta Kaplan, said Monday that Mr. Trump missed a court-ordered deadline for a second or third or fourth bite at the apple, referring to Westfall protections. After the Justice Department reversed course in 2023, the judge presiding over the case gave Mr. Trump a July 13th, 2023 deadline to further pursue the Westfall issue, and he did not. Carroll's lawyers wrote he instead pursued a last-ditch claim of presidential immunity, which was rejected as it relates to this case later that year. So you had a window, bro, and it's closed.
You had your chance.
They argue the plain text of the Westfall Act means the clock ran out when Mr. Trump's civil trial began in January 2024. So not only did they say you have until this date to file for Westfall Act stuff, and he didn't, but then there's also part of the Westfall Act that says once the civil trial begins, you're out of luck.
Yeah. The law says that a federal employee who is sued may pursue Westfall certification at any time before trial. Carroll's lawyers wrote, it would be patently unfair to permit a defendant to wait to learn the results of a trial before asserting a defense under the Westfall Act, they wrote. That conclusion jibes with analysis by Northwestern School of Law professor James Fander, who highlighted to CBS's News the Westfall Act use of before trial. That statute would seem to suggest that a motion to substitute at the appellate stage of litigation comes too late, Fander said on April 16th.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear to me. If it says you have to do it before trial, that after trial, it's too late. DOJ said in an April 11th filing that Trump was acting in his official capacity as president when he made the allegedly defamatory statements. The Justice Department and Trump's lawyers argue that the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit is required to substitute the United States for Trump in the case. Carroll's lawyers noted that the case history includes several findings to the contrary. Quote, every decision maker to reach the question with the exception of Trump and the Department of Justice, when it has been under his control, has concluded that Trump acted outside the scope of his employment when he denied an accusation of personal wrongdoing concerning a sexual assault that he committed years before he ever ran for office, they wrote. And when they say, except for Trump and his Justice Department, Bill Barr is the one who said that the DOJ could come in under the Westfall Act, and that was then later overturned by Merrick Garland.
Wow. I mean, this is just crazy. I mean, like, not that this dude does anymore surprises me. I mean, he literally missed. He's 2 years too late. I mean, like, how is his attorneys going to square that away? How can they square that? They can't.
They're going to try. But Mo Brooks tried this too.
Ooh, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, when he gave his January 6th
loser.
lip speech, he said that was part of his job, and the DOJ is like, sorry, bro, we're not stepping in here. First of all, that's a campaign speech.
I was just about to say, not only, he said this one, you said Trump was 2 years too late. Mo Brooks, you're 16 blocks away. Yeah. Your jurisdiction was 16 blocks east from where you were right there when you were on the ellipse. Give me a damn break. He says,
yeah, that was a campaign speech. The DOJ said, and then even if the court decides that wasn't a campaign speech, you can't call trying to overthrow the government part of your government job. Sorry. And they said that applies to all federal employees. And I think that was a wink and a nudge to Donald Trump about January 6th. But
yeah. Anyway. Don't bring us in who talking about that. You know?
Yeah, let's avoid that one. But we do have a couple stories about Sean Duffy and, of course, the Pillowman. But we have to take one last quick break. Stick around.
Pillowman.
We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Like I said, we have a couple quick stories for you before we get out of here today. First, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned states on Thursday that they will lose federal funding for roads, bridges, and other infrastructure projects if they continue to foster diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, impede President Trump's immigration enforcement orders, or defy other directives from the administration. Quote, federal grants come with a clear obligation to adhere to federal laws. What Duffy doesn't seem to understand is that executive orders are not federal laws. Federal laws are things passed by Congress. I'm just trying to put that out there, Mr. Duffy. Man, I miss Mayor Pete. I miss Pete Buttigieg. That's what Duffy said in a statement released alongside a letter that he sent to all recipients of the Department of Transportation funding. Quote, it shouldn't be controversial. Enforce our immigration rules and anti-American DEI policies and protect free speech. Or else, right? I added the or else, but threatening to withhold funding. And that's just some of the most ridiculous stuff. And I'm so glad that a lot of the governors in at least the Democratic Governors Association are standing up and fighting back against this. Like Governor Katie Hobbs, who vetoed a bill that said she has to let local law enforcement help immigration and ICE. She's like, no. And Pritzker's like, I'm not getting rid of my sanctuary city status. I don't care what you say. So it'll be interesting once they start suing.
Sure.
When these federal funds are blocked.
But also on the sad note about that, Washington, D.C., doesn't have the protections because they're not state controlled. They're controlled by the federal government. Hence why we don't have a Black Lives Matter plaza anymore. Because he told Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., that if you don't comply with this, we're going to hijack, what was it, $200 million, I think, or something.
And they already hijacked the funding in the continuing resolution that Schumer helped pass. $1.1 billion. And even though Schumer was like, well, we'll just pass another bill to restore that funding, they haven't been able to do that. And so now Muriel Bowser is having to slash a bunch of jobs in transportation and education and cops. And it's just such a giant mess.
Yeah. But so, shout out to
DC
the states.
Statehood.
Yeah. DC statehood. Hello. I mean, right. I mean, Donald Trump's talking about Canada become the 51st state. I mean, dude, you have in your backyard right here.
DC, Puerto Rico.
Unbelievable. Won't happen, but ridiculous. But here we are. All right, AG, no Rudy news. Okay. Rudy. No Rudy news, But we have an update on Pillowman, Mike Lindell. From The Independent, lawyers representing MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell were warned by a federal judge this week that they could be referred to disciplinary actions after it was discovered that one of their filings was riddled with artificial intelligence generated mistakes. AI generated mistakes. Not good. On Wednesday, District Court Judge Nina Wang of Colorado demanded the lawyers explain why they had submitted a motion back in February that contained a litany of mistakes that Karuchov later admitted were caused by using AI. What?
The filing submitted in February is part of an ongoing defamation lawsuit between Eric Coomer. He's a former employee at Dominion Voting Systems, and Mike Lindell, Pillowman, and Frank Speech owner. That's the former name of Lindell's media corporation, Frank Speech. But weeks later, the court seemed to notice that the filing contained, quote, misrepresentations of principles of law associated with cited cases, discussions of legal principles that simply do not appear within those decisions, misstatements regarding whether case law originated from a binding authority, and most egregiously, citation of cases that do not exist.
Wow. Trust AI if you want, When pressed for answers during a hearing, Lindell's lawyer, Kacharoff, was unable to explain what happened and was surprised that there were various mistakes. I wonder if that sounds like a law clerk wrote that for him and the lawyer had done.
I'm surprised. I'm so shocked.
He admitted to the court that he had used AI to assist him in drafting a version of the motion, which he asserts is acceptable when used properly. Clearly not. Then they tried to tell the court that the filing with AI errors was a draft that they tried to upload by mistake. Didn't this happen to Michael Cohen too?
Yes, it did. It did.
Right? Hello.
And Michael Cohen's lawyers were like, we're very sorry, Your Honor. We're very sorry, Your Honor. We're very sorry. And that was a pretty big public embarrassing thing. I'm surprised that Pillowman's lawyers didn't pay attention.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, in Karachov's sworn declaration, he insists that he is the only member at his law firm that uses AI, and he only uses it to analyze the structure of my outline and the logic of the arguments, he said. He doesn't rely on it. Well, you did in this case. Karachov and DeMaster, his other lawyer, Pillowman's other lawyer, began representing Lindell in the years-long defamation suit in 2023. And you're like, why 2023? Hasn't he been in trouble with the law since the day he was born? Straight in the curves, flat in the hills. Someday the mountain might get him, but the law never will. Why, yes, you'd be correct. But in 2023, Lindell's original lawyers quit and sued him because he didn't pay their legal fees. So,
I guess those pillows weren't moving,
Yeah. The Dupes of Hazzard. Let's call them that.
Let's go with that. I like that, AG. The Dupes of Hazzard. That's fitting, right? So fitting.
They're as racist,
Yeah. I mean, but how crazy, man. Like these people, and this is all, the Pillowman and his lawyers and Rudy and, like all these people were Trump's right-hand people. I mean, birds of a feather, right? It's really unfortunate that Donald Trump is still the president. Oh my gosh, it just drives me crazy.
I know. Sometimes I'm still like, I'm so caught up in following all of the news that like every once in a while, just like pull back and like look down on the earth and be like, what?
Yeah. That's kind of what I just did now. It's just like, I don't got much to add to this Pillowman story besides he was Donald Trump's buddy. Like, all these losers out here, my gosh. There's one thing in common.
He was bankrupt. I remember he was selling off like parts of his office, those modular walls that to like carve up an office into cubicles. Like he was selling that stuff and shelves and filing cabinets. So like everything was being auctioned off because he's like, and he said, no one will borrow me any money. I'm broke. I'm destitute.
Did we see that? You saw something, somebody in the comments commented on the borrow me money.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, something they said they've heard it before or something like in the Midwest or something.
More of an
like
old
that.
School Midwestern thing.
Yeah. But somebody had heard it before, and that's all I was looking for. At least one person to have heard that before. So.
Well, that confirms it.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a phrase. Yeah. Once two people have heard of it,
it's a thing, right?
You can start a magazine. Once two people are doing something, you can have a magazine.
Yes, you can have a magazine. Yeah.
That's an old George Carlin bit. Hats off, man. He would be having a hell of a time with this administration, I tell you. All right, everybody, that's our show. Once again, thank you so much to our Hall of Fame patrons. Thank you to our new patrons. If you want to become a patron and join us on our happy hours and come get like pre-sale tickets to VIP events and get the show early and get it ad-free and help support independent media, it's just patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD. Harry, any final thoughts today?
No really final thoughts, but y'all are hearing this on Wednesday. So yeah, on Wednesday, probably a little bit earlier, depending on when you're listening to this, I'll have been testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Democratic members of the Judiciary Committee, along with another officer from January 6th. I'll wait until the actual press release comes out to say his name.
Oh. Well, I was going to say, I don't know. I didn't know there was another hearing happening.
No, it's not rehashing January 6th. It's not out there to, find anything new or anything like that. But it's just pushing back against, this current administration, continuing to downplay and whitewash it. I'm glad I had this opportunity to do it. I'm going to stay on offense as long as they are trying to defend their actions from it. Like I said, it's been 4 years and I'll never stop crying about it. I use the crying part, like they say. Stop crying about it. I'll never stop crying about it. No. And I'll always continue to fight back. So send your well wishes for that. And I don't know if it'll be on C-SPAN, but I know it'll be streamed live on the Senate Dems Judiciary page or something like that on all their socials and YouTubes and stuff like that. So
cool. Ask them when they're going to hang up that January 6th plaque.
I know. I definitely plan on bringing that up. So absolutely.
Awesome, my friend. All right, breaking some news.
That's right.
On the cleanup show. I promise not to blue sky about it until the press release comes out.
Yeah. It's supposed to come out. I think it's supposed to come out as we're recording right now. So
all right, when you get it, send it to me. I'll blast it out. That's so cool, my friend.
Perfect. Will do.
I'm glad they're doing that. I'm glad they're having a hearing. They did have that hearing with Oyer, right? The pardon attorney and another person that had been terminated from Department of Justice. So I'm glad they're doing these. I know that they're not sanctioned hearings within the actual Judiciary Committee or whatever, but I don't. So what? I'm glad they're doing.
It's on the record.
It is. That is so cool. Thank you so much, my friend. Everybody, we will be back in your ears next week, unless you're a patron, and we'll see you for the bonus episode this weekend. I've been Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.